What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be going over the Mark III Toyota Supra and figuring out what went wrong. Did they torque this engine to the correct torque specifications, or did they correctly torque them to the right specifications? I don't know, and that doesn't make any sense, but hear me out. The head gasket blew shortly after they did the engine rebuild, which I did find in my documents. I went through all the documents that came with the car. The bill, as well as the explanation of what they did. They did one thing that's odd. I have a feeling that they blew the head gasket, they spun a couple bearings, connecting rod ones, and they went ahead and did the repair accordingly. So when they rebuilt this engine, they did quite a bit. They did $3,500 worth of work in 2011 on this engine. That includes, but is not limited to, refurbishing a couple of the connecting rods, which makes me think that they spun a bearing on the connecting rods. This can have oiling issues. I've never personally experienced those issues, but people have. Used to working on Buicks now too, so oiling issues. The other thing that it could also, or that it did have done, was they replaced the crank, which there was two flavors of cranks. Actually, there was three flavors of cranks on this one. Two main ones, the 7M and the 6M. 6M is not able to take nearly as much horsepower as the 7M. We won't know until we pop this engine apart someday. Hopefully that's not tomorrow or anytime soon, because I want to see what this can do against the Mark III Supra that we have the 1UZ in it, so we can get a good baseline of not only what the 1UZ will be like after we get the supercharger compared to the naturally aspirated, but what a bone stock version of what I bought does compared to what I did to it. Does that make sense? So back to the confusing statement I made earlier, is did he do it right or did he do it right? Which two rights make a right and one right makes a wrong in this situation. Anyways, so we'll go and take a book out and we'll see a couple things. Oh, and the reason why we have this, we need to check the torque specification. You need a nice long neck Allen 10mm to get down inside there without having to take the two cams out. Because let's just face it, if we don't have to, that'd be annoying. So, we have two books. I bought this one originally when I had the 88 Toyota Supra, and quite honestly, not to disc Haynes, I really don't like using them. For example, this says it's for a Toyota Supra, a Celica Supra. First off, this is not a Celica Supra, and it says it's from 79 to 92. The 79 is a totally different car, They're trying to cram all of the knowledge you need to fix two different cars into this little book, and this is a service manual just for 1989. Heck, there's a difference between the 88s and the 89s. So, kind of like Chrysler and Buick when it comes to different generations. Yeah, you know, they tweak things here and there. This is what I rebuilt like 6 of these cars with. And you can see, this wasn't originally in a binder. So she's seen better days. Mind you, I've always been working in God's garage, so things get sun-baked and beat up pretty regularly. Now we're going to skip through the maintenance and all this fun stuff. We're going to head right to green. Engine mechanical. This is almost always the issue with these cars when you buy them, the engine. It would have been a very good engine if it wasn't for this one problem, and that is 623. Yep, this is the right page. 55, I wasn't even close. I've used it up this page enough that it just opens right to it. So, what we have right here is the torque specifications from the manufacturer. It says that you need to have it torqued to 58 foot-pounds. That's wrong. It's actually 72 foot-pounds for the bolts and 80 foot-pounds for the ARP studs. So, we're going to see if they torqued it down to the manufacturing spec, or if they torqued it down to what everyone figured out back in the day in all the forums, that it needs to be 72. Now, I have actually not looked in here yet, so we're going to, there's me. I was having issues with something back, I don't remember now. Put a new plug on number 4, number 3, and number 1. Now you know. I don't even know. I don't know what that's all about. Yeah, I see, even this, like you can see, most of it, you know, just going through it. Very standard Haynes manual. They cover clearances and stuff. I definitely recommend the actual service manual. So I'm going to go through this and find what they say for the torque specifications on the heads, because that's what we're looking for here. Haynes Mechanical, author, photographer with Toyota Supra. That's a Celica Supra. Okay, so installation, refer to steps 13 through 20. So we go back to the previous generation engine. And doesn't tell me torque specifications. Give me a couple more minutes. Still need to sort through the Haynes manual. Aha! Okay. I was just looking in the wrong spot. It's, you know, normal problems. So, drum roll. This, the Haynes manual, clearly says the cylinder bolt or head bolts go to 58 foot-pounds. Now, someone can correct me. And the reason why that is in '86, the United States decided no more asbestos inside, so this is useless. No more asbestos inside cars when they're being imported to the United States, which meant the asbestos-embedded head gaskets that you would find in the engines previous to that, including the very first generations of the 7M GTE, were immediately kind of like, ooh, no, we can't use them. So they used the same torque specifications for them with the new steel shims, and you know, 58's not enough, you need to go 72. So let's go ahead, take a look at this. I know, yeah, Haynes manuals. I get it, if you're in a bind, and you're way behind, and you're looking to have your soul stolen, you can go with them. All right, let's take a look at this thing. So I was already kind of looking at a couple things today. One, I wanted to see what was going on with the engine oil because the dipstick tube was gone. I was worried there'd be more stuff. This was inside, so the oil looks freaking really clean. And it's right where it needs to be. So I would assume the head gasket wasn't totally gone. Maybe it was starting to lose power. I know one of my cars, that was one of the issues. It wasn't getting a ton of blow-by or coolant inside the engine, but the head gasket being boogered up was causing some overall power loss of substantial quantity. So obviously this is probably not the best way to store an engine, but I haven't seen underneath here yet. The paint on the engine looks fantastic though. They did paint the engine. They did a good job. It has about 5,000 more miles on it now than when the oil or the original head gasket was done. But this is a curiosity. So for these ugly things, when they strip, flathead screwdriver, get yourself a nice plumb hammer, tap it in there. It's soft enough to seat right in there. And while you're tapping it, little tappy. Now we'll take this one out and we'll put it in the front one for now. You can still order these through Toyota, so we will do that eventually. Right now I'm curious if we're doing a full engine rebuild on this, or if I'm going to be able to just torque these things down and still drive it. I'm really excited because I haven't driven an all-stock variation of this car since I was 14. So, see, that's the difference between leaving your valve covers on when you store it. There you go. Now that we got that off, we're going to go ahead and use our nifty Harbor Freight, or whatever you want to call them, torque wrench. Technically it's a torque ratchet, isn't it? You know? Anyways, we're going to stick it in here. We could have done that one. I prefer starting on the passenger side. We're going to start it out at a whopping 20 foot-pounds. Okay? So it's on there more than 20 foot-pounds. Cool. Should be. Let's try 40 foot-pounds. Okay. Let's try 50. Okay. Let's try 60. Okay, see that? Right there, guys. This engine was torqued down to the Toyota specification. It was just slightly over. I got like maybe between a 16th and an 1/8 of a turn, which to me, I mean, not exactly. I don't have like a calibrated hand that could tell me that it was at 58 foot-pounds exactly. But that means this engine was torqued down to the Toyota specifications, which is good. That means, well, it's not good, but it's good. That means a good mechanic went through this engine when they were putting this together and followed the torque specifications from whatever manual. So I hope that means the mains and everything else are at the same specifications. They did drive it for 5,000 miles beforehand, and he was saying he was really laying into it when it blew. So to me, that leaves me with the belief that we don't have the issue that could have been an error, a problem, which would be the bottom rear timing gear cover thing, the official term from Toyota, but it sits behind the timing gear as well as your main pulley from your crank. That was probably machined appropriately because it does tell you to do that in the book, so that was probably done right. The biggest issue we have, of course, is this engine is way under torqued. So for tee-hee giggles, I am going to torque it all to the appropriate specification using the appropriate pattern, and then we'll put it all back together and see if it runs. That way I could at least give an idea. I'm sure that we have to replace the head gasket. I'm very confident in that. But putting this back together shouldn't take more than a couple hours, and hey, maybe by the grace of God we get lucky and this thing runs fine. I would still like to pull this engine all apart and rebuild it at some point, so it's not a big deal. But hey, now we know. Someone did their due diligence and followed the specifications given to them by Toyota, and unfortunately it's wrong. It's not their fault. It's Toyota's fault. So why there was never a recall on it, I'll never know. Well, guys, it's been a little while since I started filming this video. We got a little sidetracked. Some incredible opportunities came our way, and we also had to finish up with the Supra. So Hemmings had an awesome collaboration with the Roadkill guys. We got to meet up with Steve Dulcich and David Freiberger to work on an incredible vehicle that I remember when they first pulled it out of the salvage yard. And I'm looking forward to that video. I got to help Steve with a couple of little things, and we got to hang out with Steve for quite a bit. Incredible guy. He has his own YouTube channel. I highly recommend you go check it out. And I'm hoping he starts a secondary channel making food. So a part of the conversation. He is a, I guess not a connoisseur, but like me, just he likes to make food, and not fancy food. There's food that you can make in a pinch, but it still has to taste really good. It's not like super like hardcore survival food as much as like, you know, stuff that we survived off in college. You know, anyways, highly recommend checking out Steve Dulcich's YouTube channel. Not only does he have some tips and tricks on how to make food, but he's doing some pretty incredible stuff to cars that you may even recognize from the other videos. But yeah, anyways, after that we got to hang out at Hemmings, and we were able to, a video will be coming up about it, but witness them putting together their 1969 Chevelle for the Great Race. They hired in an incredible mechanic that was hilarious. His name was Bob, to work on quite a bit of it, and they went through, replaced the fuel tank all the way to, they have a big block 427, which you can actually read the articles of that swap with the 4L60E transmission. Incredible car. They do a smoky burnout with it. It's going to be an absolute blast going into the Great Race. So then, of course, we moved on to the Supra that is behind the camera on over there. we had to get the black car ready for some tests and tuning. And we're working on just getting the thing to hook. And so today, before I mowed the lawn, which I haven't done yet, I decided I wanted to finish putting this thing back together. I was missing a very specific bolt that allowed the cold start to work, and without that, the gas would have just poured out, and it would have been not a good time. So we were able to get this thing back together. Let's take a quick look, and then we'll see if this thing starts up. I am running a spare battery I have borrowed from my buddy, and hopefully it doesn't look like we're being chased by a Bond villain when we start it up, because I don't think this is a absolute solution. Right now, I want to hear it run, make sure we don't have any rod knock, make sure it accelerates properly, we don't have any weird things going on with the bottom end or top end of the engine, which can happen with a blown head gasket with these cars, so fingers crossed. Let's take a look though. So as you can see, we are missing a battery right there. The batteries are absolutely huge. You can see just how big they are in this car here. We did move it back to the front because NHRA rules require that if you're going to have a battery in the back, you need a rear shutoff, and I don't want to cut up that car. So anyways, it is an absolute bundle of mess inside these cars. It does have a cover that goes here. Unfortunately, the one that came with this vehicle, I think I already showed, is cracked. We do have a spare that will be fine. And then I do have a cover that will go on here, but that will be after we do a full restoration on the car, because those things are hard to come by. Anyways, yeah, the 250,000 mile long intercooler, or intercooling piping is just terrible, horrible. Not a good design from Toyota. You have your turbo right there. It dumps it down. You have a fairly large intercooler sitting right here, and then it comes back around just to reheat the air to dump it back in. Realistically, the 1JZs and 2JZs, one of the greatest attributes they have over these is a front-facing intake manifold, which just makes life a lot easier. It's not something we're going to do with this car because we want to keep this thing stock. But this is what a dirty stock engine looks like. I don't recommend starting a car with this kind of battery setup, but I'm curious, and curiosity kills the cat, you know? That's not bad. Throttle works. Yep. I mean, that doesn't do anything like a carburetor, but I'm just making sure it's not catching on anything. I don't want this thing to run away on me. Idling awful high. Don't like that. The idle screw hasn't moved in a while. Yeah, it's idling about 1500. We want it to idle closer to like 6 or 7. Honestly, I didn't replace any of the gaskets or anything. I'm genuinely surprised it's running as well as it is. Let's look out back. Look at that. Those horrible tips have to come off, but I thought it was the actual exhaust. They have a little bit of smoke coming out of it, a little bit of oil, but not bad at all. I didn't see any smoke come out. I'll be darned. Hey, I'm pretty happy. The real question is, can we throw a battery in it and drive it? $3 grand. Just had to tighten down the head gasket, or the head bolts rather. I'm really over the moon, guys. It needs paint. It does need paint. I would say there has been repainting done to this car, but for the most part, other than obviously having some paint work done and having the wrong stereo in it, this is like an all original car, and just having to torque down the head bolts. Guys, like, these things go for big money these days. This is probably my best deal I've purchased since I bought the Caddy. Like, I'm over the moon, guys. I got attacked by a bug. But they won't hold me down, and won't keep me down. Now the real question is, if we can find a battery for it, stuff it in here, and check the power steering fluid levels, because that sounds like a little bit too low, but I want to go for a ride. Can it drive? Will it drive? Like, I didn't even try to put it in gear yet. Like, all right, we need to put coolant in here. We need to find a battery. That's our next step right now. Okay? Yeah, let's do it. Well, guys, I gotta say, see if you guys see me all right. That's the Buick key. That's the other Supra key. That's this key. Okay. This glove box is actually a lot shallower than mine. Very interesting. Or my other one. Let's see if our luck is going to hold out here, guys. Because this is such a pristine car. Absolutely incredible to have been able to obtain one of these. I still forget that this is an automatic. Starts right back up. I don't see... The mirrors work. Cool. I don't see any smoke or anything coming out. We did fill it back up with coolant now. But let's go ahead and take her for a ride. It's the first time I've driven a completely bone stock one of these things in a very, very, very long time. So it's very quiet. You hear the brakes are still knocking off the rust. I'm gonna go up the hill. That way if something happens, it's easier to get back down the hill. Tell if that's a little bit of... No, it's just there's a weird spot in the mirror. Oh, we're building boost. Cool. Have almost a full tank of gas. I don't like how this is, like... It's really leaning back. I feel like I'm about to take a nap or something here. Knob is broken off on it, but great handling car. Do I still have that other one? Yes, I do. All right. So, gotta say, I'll be completely honest with you. I can almost whisper in here, but you can hear the wheel or the brake caliper noise. This feels completely lethargic compared to the black Supra. Like, once it finally gets up to almost 8 pounds of boost, it starts to wake up. But until then, also the little knob is broken and it's bothering me. So I can't put the thing forward. But no power, no power, no power, no. It's like I'm waiting for that turbo to kick in. Got about 5 PSI. There we go. 4,000 RPM. She just wakes up. Yeah, it's a fun car. It's definitely a quick car. Boy, I've been spoiled by that one UZ. Handles are absolutely fantastic. You can hear the turbo spooling up. So she's quick when you're in the power band. That's so close to 4,000 RPM. The car wakes up. 100%. And that V8 power, baby, and the other Supra, though, you got power all of the time. I wonder if the AC works. Oh, it does. Of course, it has the same exact seats, except for these are still electric. I did remove the electric seats out of the Supra and converted it over to completely manual. I'm sure the other big issue with this particular car is it does have the slush box automatic. I'm not the biggest fan of Toyota's automatics, I'll be completely honest with you. Their manuals though, especially the R154, it's a brute of a transmission. The W58 you can get in the non-turbos. They're like glass, you can break them fairly easy, you can't put a lot of power through them, but they shift very, very nicely. I think I'm having something going. I think my my intercooling pipe may have popped off, because once the turbo kicks on, I lose power. So I might not have had that cinched down enough. So as soon as the turbo kicks on, I'm losing power. Well guys, I gotta say it was a lot of fun taking it back out. I did blow the hose off of the return line from the intercooler. I just didn't have it tight enough, and that's why we lost all the power, unfortunately. So now all we have to do is just kind of just enjoy it for a little bit. I do know what I did here is not a fix. The reason why I put it back together the way I did was to really get a good idea what is wrong with it. When you blow the head gaskets, you can end up losing your bearings. You know, there's a lot of things. You could warp the head. I just wanted to make sure we had a strong bottom end. We obviously do. It's still a very quick car. It's a quick car. The last time I actually drove one of these things that didn't have a blow-in head gasket, that was all original, unmanipulated from the factory, would have been 19 years ago, and that was a manual transmission. So yeah, Toyota does not make automatic transmissions that I'm too keen on. I still lean towards the turbo 400s, or you know, you can get the 727s, the 904s if it's a light enough car. The 727s are very good transmissions if you're going to put a lot of power to the ground. I still lean towards the turbo 400s though. Yeah, it's not as fast as I recall it to be. Maybe because I've been driving this thing around, and this is not a slow car. That is instant response. There's no turbo lag, and it will put you in the back of the seat. And on asphalt, you won't break loose on the tires. Oh my god, though. It's really cool to be able to have this thing. $3 grand for this, guys. We just need to pull the engine back out, go through it. The last time someone was in that engine and actually was putting it together would have been 2011. Obviously, they were competent engine builders. They did read the torque specifications from the factory, but unfortunately, they were not specialists for these particular cars, because the issue with the head gasket has been known for, I mean, well over the time I started working on these things 19 years ago. So yeah, we want to pull it apart. We want to make sure it's all our T's and I's are crossed and dotted and whatever, and we'll get it back together. Maybe we can do something to do with like a different torque converter or shift kit. I don't know much about the automatic version of these. I want to keep this thing as stock as possible. I want it to be way more awake than it is now. It is miserable. Yeah. So anyways, it's back together, and the question was, can we get it running and driving today? And we did, and I'm really, really excited about it. We do need to get back to the main mission, which is getting this thing ready for No Name Nationals. We have to get this thing dialed in, naturally aspirated before we throw the supercharger on it. We have coil unplugs have to go on, 850cc injectors. We have a much bigger fuel pump. We have a much more efficient or accurate fuel pump regulator, or fuel pressure regulator, not pump, pressure. Let's see, we have the wiring harness. Calvin down at Cartoon New Zealand, check out his channel. He's almost done working on ours. and then it's just a matter of slapping it all together with the Haltech 2500 ECU that we have on the shelf, and it's going to be an absolute fire-breathing monstrosity. Immediately after that, we're going to be transitioning back to this car right here. Ooh. The Buick, the one that we went all the way down to Texas to pick up. We got the 455 in the basement for it. We just got to get this thing put back together so we can enjoy it. I don't want this thing to be a drag strip monster. I just want it to be a very fun ride. It's a very comfortable ride. So I want to make it fast, but I want to keep it comfortable. AC, I want to do more modern AC instead of the horrible, ugly looking thing that's in there now that looks like just muddies up the engine bay. But yeah, so we have a lot we got to get back onto this thing. Of course, Turbo 400, we're going to ditch the Turbo 350 and go for something that's going to handle a lot better. I am going to try finding if we can just get a different tail shaft, or maybe we'll run the larger output shaft. That's probably what we're going to get stuck with, which is fine. Someday I'd love to make this manual as well. And I'm going to see who's actually hanging out long enough to the end of this video without me prompting them to hear what is coming. We're going to be doing a video soon about this as well. But here we go. I'm still working out the details on it, but I want a lot of you guys, my core subscribers, to start thinking about it, because this is for you guys. I mean, anyone is eligible as long as you haven't worked on the project or you're not a family member of Kilowatt Studios, Lunar Outlaw's Garage, which is a subsidiary of my studio company. Anyways, yeah, I'm giving away a car. It's a car that really made the channel stick out in the very beginning. I keep going back towards that car to want to change what has been done, and I have to remind myself when we have a project, I can't go back to it. Once it's done, it's done. The Supra is almost there. The problem that I always have, this black Supra is a perfect example of it. Every time I was done with that project, I would end up stripping the engine back out and going bigger. And it's the most frustrating thing. It's one of the reasons why I'm very blessed to have as many cars as I do now. I can finish a project and it's done. I don't have to tear it all back down, and it's just like, I don't know. It's like horsepower creep. The black Supra has always been horsepower creep, and it made it so that for the 12 years I've owned it, I've maybe put 500 miles on that car, and I can't do that to myself anymore. That being said, I do have too many projects, too many cars, and I want to give back to you guys. So make my problem your not problem, fun, I don't know. So for the subscribers and followers of the channel, we're going to be giving away the 1972 Plymouth Satellite. The giveaway will start to be activated at 50,000 subscribers. It's not going to be a blind giveaway. It's going to be kind of blind. So how we're going to do it, and I'm still working out all the details, but I really liked how Dylan McCool did his giveaway when he partnered with Hemmings on that, and that was, he got a whole bunch of people, like 2,500 people, put in entries on why they believe they'd be good stewards of that car, what they're going to do to it, things like that. So main rule, so far I'm working on all the rules. None of this is 100% official, other than I will be giving away the 72 Satellite once, and the giveaway will be triggered at the 50,000 subscriber mark. Now I do want to do a couple more things to it before I send it away to one of you guys. One, you guys would have to write a 500-word reason why. You guys, it's not going to be emailed directly to me. We'll work on that in a little bit. I have a lot of details to work out, but I want my core subscribers to know that I'm very, very appreciative, and I couldn't be doing what I'm doing today without you guys. So you guys are freaking awesome. You rock. If you want to be entered into, the only thing you have to do is just hold on to your pants. This is going to be an awesome, awesome thing. I want you guys to comment in the comment section down below which Supra you like the most. This isn't to do with the giveaway. And I want you guys to write in the comment section down below what I should do to the Satellite before we give it away. It's going to be going with the Uncle Tony collaboration 318 with me and Nick. So I want it to be a chunk of the history. I don't want to give it away and lose that part of it. I know it's not the most sound engine in the world, but I've had a lot of people say what they want to do with that engine. So let's go ahead and give it to the next group of people. The only thing you guys would be required to do is, you'll have to pay tax on it. And I got to see how we're going to do the whole transporting part. So, like I said, I'm still working out the actual details, but once the channel hits 50,000 subscribers, we will be triggering the giveaway on the 72 Satellite. I really dig that car. But I also wanted to see who stayed around long enough in the video to get that information. I will do another video on it a little bit from now, but yeah, I'm not going to mention it in the comment section or the description or anything else. Airplane flying overhead. Anyways, I'm really excited about it, guys. I have an incredible collection of cars at this point. I couldn't have these cars if it wasn't for you guys hitting the subscribe button, hitting the thumbs up, commenting, hanging out with me on my live streams. I really appreciate it. I have like a collection of dream cars, so maybe I can, I will be giving one of my dream cars to one of you guys. So yeah, I'm really excited about it, guys. Until the next time, remember, comment in the little section down below what you think of the questions I just asked. And as always, keep her shiny side up. God bless. All right, let's go. Doo -doo 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 -doo.